Hi, everyone, and welcome to our class. I'm excited that you're here. We're particularly excited about this class because we're really expanding on it. And we're frankly in a new frontier. To become an author wellness and book coach is different than just being a book coach. And we're going to go through sort of the details of why that's different. But most importantly, to understand that the journey we want to take with the author is one of their personal journey. So, them as a human being, not just them as this sort of technical writing, the physical book, the publishing of the book, the marketing of the book. We want to go through the human journey and help them through the human journey so that they're able to navigate it a lot easier. So they have someone that they can get feedback off of, someone they can get support from, accountability, which is a huge one. So these are areas that are actually lacking right now. And I don't know if you all got my email. Those who did, in the newsletter, I basically was talking about how at any given time in North America, 5 million to 10 million people are writing a book at some stage of writing a book, which makes this even really cooler because it opens up a whole new market that you can tap into. And it's not just the one-on-one coaching, which we're going to discuss as we go along. There's other ways that you can tap in and utilize what you're learning and do group coaching, speaking, classes, like all kinds of things geared towards authors. And you can target it. You can target to all authors. You can target it specifically to, let's say, wellness people, or you can target it to romance writers or memoir writers. You can target your coaching to that. It's completely up to you. And again, we talk about all this. Now, the number one thing I do want to say is that I am going to be looking away at my notes. We got lots of notes, but I couldn't even cover what we have in the textbook. So your e-textbook is going to be coming. And there's a lot of information in there. There's a lot of examples, things to say, how to set up your coaching class. Now, because a lot of you are already wellness professionals, you have done one-on-one coaching, you've done this already. So we just sort of go over it, just to sort of how it would work with an author as opposed to how it would work with, another person needing another sort of help, right? Which is another really big thing that I want to touch on. And that is that when you become an author, wellness and book coach, you're speaking to the part about them being an author, their journey as an author. And because a lot of you are already wellness professionals and dealing already with other types of issues, grief, marital breakup, anything along those lines, you have to be very careful that you keep your practice, your author wellness coaching and book coaching separate because you don't want to get into a scenario where you bring on an author coach and then all of a sudden it turns into another type of coaching. You lose focus on the book itself. So in those cases that you want to be able to say, okay, you know what, maybe we need to do a tandem coaching where we will address your marital issue, your grief issue, your financial issue, like anything along those lines. That way you keep to the course of what this is, which is helping the author complete their book. Okay, so those are things that you have to sort of just be aware of and know that we are talking about the human side of the journey of an author. The other part that is really specific to this is that yes, we are giving information on, manuscripts and organizing, how you put your book together. We talk a little bit about the publishing side, but you're not doing the tech side. You're doing the human side of going through those things. So we put the information in the textbook so that you have it, so that you understand it. So if you get questions about it, but your particular type of coaching is to address the human side. Now, what we're also going to do with all the students is send you an additional booklet that has even more information on the publishing side. Now, that is not so that you deal with that and you're working with printers and you're doing that. It is so that you can answer any questions or you understand what an author has to go through and what they're going, the steps they go through to realize their dream, right? So just understand a little bit better. But to know that this is about the journey of the author, their personal journey. Okay, so we're gonna get started. And as I said, I am going to be looking over, so forgive me when I look, because we just got a lot of notes. We're gonna get through this. Again, I encourage you to stop, come back to it. I'm going in the exact order that the chapters are in the book so that you'll be able to coincide what I'm saying with the book itself, but I absolutely do encourage you to read the entire book. It's got a lot of information in it, really relevant stuff to getting you to understand exactly what it is that you're doing when you're talking to a coach and all the opportunities that you have. Because you know me, I'm always going to look for other ways that you can open other revenue streams into this, because that's what we do. And we look for those other ways of generating partnerships, collaborative opportunities, and other revenue streams, even within this coaching practice. Okay, so we're going to get started. So the number one thing is that you're focusing as an author. I'm reiterating that because this is super important, especially if you are already a wellness coach, because you don't want to cross the line between the author's journey and anything else that's going on in their lives. Now, let me just say this with a bit of a caveat in there. There is going to be times when, let's say, marital trouble is affecting their ability to write their book. That's slightly different to discussing the ins and out of the marriage. Okay, so there's two different things. So discussing how they can carve up some time, maybe take a break, maybe regroup, maybe have to take a week off when they're dealing with something really emotional. That is different to actually taking on that specific issue as you're trying to work with them as an author. Okay, so we want to make sure you always bring it back to the author's journey. Okay, so now we're going to start with all the different things that you'll be covering now. When you are working with an author, you're not necessarily going to be working on all areas at once, but it is good to know things that typically affect authors. Okay, so when you and further down and in the later chapters in the book and later on in this course, I am going to address when you are setting up your coaching business that you can be specific to the type of coaching you want to do. So, for example, if you want to be an accountability coach or a confidence coach, those are specifics that you can address and specialize in and just focus on that. So, depending on sort of where you want to go with that, you can zero in on the type of coaching you want to do. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is writer's block. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that. I'm sure you've heard that a lot. So writer's block does hit. Sometimes it hits through frustration. Sometimes it hits through they're overwhelmed by life and other things coming at them. Sometimes they just literally just have a block. They cannot think of what to say. And those are times when you want to, as their coach, encourage them to talk about it, maybe brainstorm ideas, maybe even encourage them to go take a walk, look at something else, focus on, go to the mall, look at other things, because that can often break through a writer's block because they see other things are coming at them. Encourage them that they just continue to work through the process, not to actually go, oh my God, I can't write, because they will get back on the path of writing once they calm themselves, once they get into a more peaceful space. You don't want to just say to them, well, I don't get the problem. Just write. Go ahead, just write, because that'll just put pressure on, which actually makes writer's block like a million times worse. So it's one of the worst things you can say. So you don't want to go in that way. You want to get them to understand why they're in a block. Okay, so go through the process. Is it work? Is it children? Is it outside factors? Is it that they don't like where the book is going? Is it that they went in the wrong direction and now they're stuck? Is it like, what is it that's causing this block? And then just work through it. And you want to be more curious than judgmental. So you want to ask questions like, why? What's going on in your life? Can you talk about that? You just ask questions. Don't immediately try to fix it. Before giving the author an immediate solution, let them talk, because that'll help you see where they are. So let them be the one who guides the entire conversation to understanding why they're blocked. Okay. If they have things around perfectionism, i.e., everything I write is garbage, I don't like it, I don't like what I'm writing, well, that's different. Now you've got a pathway. Okay, well, we're talking about perfectionism. Well, there's no such thing as perfectionism. And of course, you're going to, work with them on that and to understand that just getting it written down, just write it down, can often help get rid of that writer's block. You writing it down, you look at it, you go, ugh, you go to bed, you come back to it, and you go, you know what? This idea was actually good. Maybe I'll expand them. This one was really bad, but it has led me to another idea. And then it helps break through that writer's block. Writer's block is information. They don't treat it as the enemy. Don't cause guilt. Don't cause, and don't try to force the issue. Just have them calmly talk to you about, okay, well, what could it be that's causing it? Okay, maybe they're saying, I don't know where the story's going. I'm afraid people will judge me, which is one of the areas we're going to cover in this. They're overwhelmed. There could be a lot of reasons why they've got it, but the more they talk about it, the more relaxed they'll get. And they need a sounding board. They just need to get it out, and then they can sort of get back on track, right? And that's your goal, is to always sort of get them there. One thing too is you can give them permission essentially to write badly. Just write. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time around. That's why people have drafts, okay? That's why they do drafts and they go back and they check it again. So sometimes just writing anything, just write it down and then go in and, like I said, you revise it or something sounds better or worse and you go into it. Okay, you don't have to force the author through the wall. You're just going to help them understand why there is a wall, okay? And then guide them through that. Coaching through confidence, self-doubt, and the fear of being seen. Okay, confidence is a big one. Obviously, people, you're putting something that you've written out there into the world. The confidence of just saying that I can write a book, like can I? Like, you know, what do I have to say that somebody would want to hear? So you're going to work with that. You're going to work with them on that, and often this comes out once they've written the manuscript. They're already done, and all these doubts come crashing out. Who am I to write this? What if people don't like it? What if people criticize me? We're going to go into criticisms a little bit later. Okay, that fear often causes procrastination. The book is done, but they don't go any further. And you have to break through that, right? So they're avoiding now to submit their manuscript. They're avoiding to finish it. It's on this last couple of pages, but they essentially hold their book hostage because of fear that it'll be rejected. So you have to work through that fear, right? So you want to ask questions of what is the underlying aspect of your doubt? What are you afraid of? And then work through that fear. What is that fear? How can we break through that fear? And ultimately, what's going to happen if it were to come true? Okay, so your best friend doesn't like it, right? Well, not everybody likes everything. So you have to kind of break through those barriers to get past this idea that their stuff's not good enough. And I've seen so many authors with this issue, and they're afraid to take their book further because they think nobody wants to read it anyway. Who's going to read it anyway? Who wants to hear about my life story? Who wants my memoir? Who wants it? They'll do that and they'll actually talk themselves out of it and they'll really regret it that they didn't just continue, especially if they had already done a whole pile of it and they're holding their last couple of chapters hostage. We've had authors come to the authors gathering that have literally held their books hostage for 2, 3 years, if not longer, and it's just waiting for those final chapters to be written. And so you want to help and work with them through that. They could be embarrassed, a judgment, a family reaction, past experiences, vulnerability, which is why when I talked in the beginning why a wellness coach is so needed, these are areas that authors really struggle with. And putting themselves out there, especially if it's a book that's very personal or it's a memoir that's very personal, they feel very vulnerable and very, very protective of criticism, right? So you need to work with them to find out what it is that is causing the self-doubt. When fear comes, you want to break through the fear, but also understand that fear doesn't mean they should stop. And that's what you want to address to them. Fear doesn't mean that you need to stop. It just means you need to work through it, get to the other side. There is one point, and I've been made it from the very beginning, but I'm going to make this too. You are a wellness and book coach. You are going to be working with all kinds of people. How far along you are in your own career, I don't know. I don't know, who's come onto this class, whether you have a PhD, whether you're a life coach, you this, whatever your designations is, you're a psychologist, work within your scope because you don't want to step outside of your scope should the person have serious anxiety issues, serious as you want to sort of have a way to say, okay, well, maybe that particular issue needs more help that's outside of my scope. And that's more professional than to try and, work in that and somehow overstep your scope. So keep within your scope. Again, it's all about the author's journey with their book. So if you're finding someone that has anxiety and stuff that you simply it isn't you're not able to work through it, you may have to refer them to somebody who can help. Okay, so that's just to make sure you have that distinction because you don't want to take on anxieties, traumas, depression that is literally outside of your scope. So just keep that in mind. Your job isn't to eliminate every fear. Your job is to help them understand why they have the fear and then see if you can connect it and help them take healthy steps towards becoming the author they want to be. Okay. Overwhelm and burnout is another one that authors really deal with, and they deal with the burnout in a lot of areas. They deal with it in overwriting. In other words, they're just writing and writing. They put themselves in a room and they write for weeks on end. They burn out because it takes them too long to write. They've been writing and writing around. They can't even look at their manuscript anymore. They can't even see it anymore, and they certainly can't read it again. So there's a lot of ways of burnout and overwhelmed. They feel overwhelmed with the amount of work it's going to take to, let's say, put a novel together. Difference is, let's say, a wellness book may be 100, 200 pages, but a novel could be like 400, 500 pages. So the overwhelming of that, thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to write a story this long? Those are areas where, again, you work with them, you break it down, you start to see, okay, like, where are your fears, where are your issues, where's the overwhelm, and take smaller steps. Just for today, maybe just write 500 words, maybe just brainstorm your chapters, maybe just brainstorm your characters, maybe just do that rather than, take on and see this massive thing ahead of you. Just focus on smaller tasks and get those done. And those wins, each time there's a win, celebrate that win. So each time you're with your client, you're working with them, and they have a win, then that's a celebration. They don't have to celebrate just at the end when the book is done and published and out on Amazon. They can celebrate each win, each milestone that they get through. So doing that way takes away a lot of the overwhelm as well. It doesn't feel as heavy. It doesn't feel like they're trapped, or they don't know where to go from here, or they just don't even want to look at it anymore. It breaks it down. Okay, so that's really important to recognize. You also want to note some signs of creative overwhelm. Okay, it can be constantly starting new ideas. It's not continuing, but constantly starting something new, feeling unable to decide what to work on next because they just don't even know where to start, so they're not starting anywhere, which you encourage them to just start anywhere, write it down, start. And then procrastination, right? And we talk about that. You keep pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. That causes more problems, feelings of guilt, feelings of anxiety. So you want to get them to just start. Just start. Write the first thing up. Put a list of things that you could be doing. Again, it can be something as simple as, what would your chapters be about? Are you interviewing people? Are you going to be having pictures? Search the pictures, graphs, any kind of guidance like that. Get some starting, get some seeing that it's beginning. When I was writing this book with Krista, we actually laid out all the chapters first, put all that together first, and then we went into writing each of the chapters. That way we had a guideline. It didn't feel so overwhelming because we saw, okay, we'll just break it down. We're going to start with this, start with this, start with this. And it got us through the writing process. And this is what we say for all the authors of work, is just start, just write it down and get started. Simplify, simplify. What's the next step? What's the next step? Okay, then help them create sustainable writing habits. Talk with them, find out what works for them. Is working a half an hour a few times a week good for them? Is power writing better for them? Let's say once a week, an hour, 2 hours. What is better for them? And how does, what they can handle? And that can change because they could start with, okay, I'm just going to do, an hour today and that's it. And then they could have this amazing epiphany and start writing for 3 or 4 hours, right? And then, oh my God, this story, and it's just flowing out of them. So once again, once you break free of just make it really small and just start, it can grow from there. And from there, you can finish the book, which is the ultimate goal, right? So you don't have to have everything finished all at once. You're allowed to rest. There's no guilt in taking a break. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity. You don't have to write down every idea you have. You can focus just on the ideas you really, really like. And you know those ideas. They come to you and you go, oh my God, I got to write that down. You'll have that. And you have other ideas where, then you'll think about it, right? So that's what you want to encourage them to do, to just do what feels good, not pressure, not putting so much pressure on that they stifle the creative process. Okay. And the book will still be here tomorrow. So if they need a rest, if they need a break, if they need that, it'll still be there. In fact, that helps a lot with the writers taking a bit of a break, right? So it all interconnects. This is a tough one. it's the maintaining momentum through the publishing process. It is one thing to get through the manuscript. Next, after the manuscript is done, you're into editing, you're into layout, design, cover design, ISBN, all that. How am I going to get it out? Or, how am I marketing it? Where am I putting it? Is it Amazon? Is it Ingram Sparks? Is it all of it? What are good ones? It becomes very overwhelming, right? So they've already gone through getting the manuscript done, let alone now the next step, which is all these processes. So you have to, again, break it down and get them to keep that momentum up. So okay, I'm going to go through each, and everything should be a little bit of a celebration. You did this, you found this. Go research somebody you'd like to work with, doing your layout. What kind of cover do you want? Maybe you can have a session where it's a brainstorming and what they envision the cover to look like. So that breaks it down, makes it much more manageable, keeps momentum up. Big thing though is to keep um keep the mini wins. You want to keep everything as a win. You finish the manuscript, it's going to editing. It's gone through first revision. You're looking at it. Oh, yay, you do a first revision. Like, how do you feel? I mean, how's it going? What do you need? Are you feeling good about it? Do you like the changes? Do you find you want to do other changes? Have you found things that keep the conversation going? The more they talk, and again, they're using you're the bounce off, right? That you're the person that they can bounce all their ideas or frustration. They can do that with you, and you keep them focused and on task, which is really great. Okay, you have them break the publishing journey. And again, all of this is in the book because I'm talking about it and it's going to go, whoo, is a lot, but it's in the book so you can see it really in front of you to understand it very clearly. You to break down the steps into easy steps. Okay, so it's complete the manuscript, editing and revision, cover design, interior design, publishing preparation, distribution, marketing and launch, and then post-launch promotion. Okay, so break it down into sections, and they don't have to do all 7 sections in a day. They can take their time and work through each of the sections, deal with the emotional side, deal with the up and down, the frustration, deal with all of that as they go along. Okay, so you want to be an accountability partner, an encourager. You're the guide. Okay, be a steady voice. You've come this far. Let's figure out the next step. So you really want them to stay in that space. Motivating and celebrating progress. Okay, motivation naturally rises and falls. Okay, so it's going to be one day they feel really motivated, next day not so much. Again, bearing witness to what they've already done helps them see how far they've come. You want to celebrate the wins. You want to do that. There's a lot of delays, tedious revisions that could really chip away at motivation, doing the book over and over again. And one thing we do talk about is perfectionism. The problem is if you're trying to look for that elusive word before you get your book out, like that perfectionism, often that causes a ton of anxiety. You lose motivation. It's taking so long to come out. And a lot of people struggle with this. A lot of authors struggle with perfectionism. They make sure there's absolutely no spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes, no this. Unfortunately, even in the biggest um, publishing houses in the world, there is a manuscripts that have spelling errors. It just happens. It is, and it's very hard to describe to somebody that it is not as big a deal. As long as it's your entire book, you can read it and it's fine. You're not going to be penalized because of a spelling mistake, but that often becomes something that becomes so fixated on that you get more scared of that spelling mistake than you do to move the book forward. So you have to help them work through that to get the book completed. So break it down, keep them motivated, show them how far they've come, right? Understand what motivates them. Don't be afraid to ask that question. What would motivate you to get back on track? What would get you thinking, I'm ready for this. Is it maybe the Christmas, the holiday season is coming, gift giving? Like maybe that's something that would motivate you to get your book out in time for that. Or often like the spring is a big time for us in the wellness industry because that's when it's January, February, March, April, May, when people really focus on a new chapter, new beginnings. So that's a big time for wellness books to come out because of that. So we always have books coming out around the holiday season and then going into the new year. So that could be a motivator to getting the book done. So you have to ask that question, what's going to motivate you on your journey, and let them give you the feedback. It's their journey. It's not your journey, it's their journey. So let them give you that feedback. We've already gone through, we let them see how far they've come, write it down. Look, you've done your book. You researched it, you put it together, you've done the entire manuscript. I mean, you've come so far. Let's take it the rest of the way, right? So you want to acknowledge that they have really hard days. You want to recognize their growth. You want to remind them that an author finishing a book isn't one giant, it's 100 small accomplishments along the way. So they always have a win under their belt. Okay. And then if they are really struggling, you want to help them reconnect to why they wrote the book in the first place. And that's the biggest question. Like, why? Why are you writing a book? And let them tell you, right? Why are you writing this book? What do you hope it does for the world? If it's a wellness book, let's say, or it's a memoir, what do they want to give to the world? What do they want to say? What do they want to share? Who do they want to help? Get some really to reconnect back with their book again. Because then they start from the beginning. Well, since I was a kid, I always wanted to write a book. I went through this terrible journey and I want to help other people get to the other side of it like I did. You get them to talk about the why, and they will talk to you. Again, that's your job, right? Is to get them to talk to you and help them guide through their journey. But that's what you want, is to just ask them, you know, why? Why are you doing this? And it often brings the conversation right back down, not only to becoming grounded with their book, but why they love the idea in the first place, right? Why do they love the idea of doing this in the first place? One big thing too, and we're going to be talking about it, is vulnerability. When you're dealing with someone's vulnerability, you really want to, especially if they're telling a personal story or they're vulnerable in that they're sensitive to criticism, you just be gentle. And again, get them grounded, get them talking, and get them talking about their fear, right? What is it that's making you feel vulnerable? What do you feel is going out there? And then what would be the scenario that you're afraid to have that would happen? And how would you work through that? Okay, so you want to navigate not only what they're doing, but why they're doing it. Okay, when the process gets really hard, the how might not be enough, but the why will make them become regrounded into what their journey is and what they want to do. Okay, and you can get them back on track again. Again, that's the ultimate goal, is that their book comes out, right? Balancing writing life and positive selfishness. Okay. When I wrote that, I thought, yep, that's just a phrase. We actually have a book coming out, and it's called "The Next Chapter of My Life is About Me," and a lot of it is around that, is in letting yourself come first, right? And often when you are writing and you have other stuff, obviously you have work, family, children, caregiving, you have, life, it gets in the way, right? There's a lot there, but it's okay to say that I would like to carve out this hour 3 times a week to write on my book, to meet with my coach, to go to networking events, to further my book's journey. That's okay. It's okay to say that. It's okay to ask for it. And it's okay to tell yourself that this can be guilt free. Okay. You just figure out, work with your family, work with, realize, okay, these are the times. So I'm going to not do this. I'm going to focus on my book. And there's nothing selfish about that. It's positive selfishness, because it's for you, it's for your greater good, and it's self-love, self-care. It's okay. Right? And unfortunately, you have to kind of say that and tell people that it is okay for you to take this time. It's okay to meet with a coach once a week. It's okay to carve out time to write your book. At the same time, you want to let them know that the book can't be everything. If they become too focused on the book and now they're not seeing family and they're not, it's affecting work, or it's just that's the other side of the coin. You want to have balance, right? You want to be really balanced, not be so focused on it that you don't have time for anything else, because you're going to go into burnout, right? So you want to have that book writing life balance in there, and you want to have your positive selfishness. And it's okay. Help them to learn how to create boundaries around their writing time, that they can say to somebody, They can maybe say to a friend or a husband, wife, I'd like to take this hour for my writing and not make it a 5 point, not argue, not get make it something that becomes a negative experience, but a positive experience to say I would like to have this time. Okay. And then obviously they compromise with family, and everybody just works it out to what works positively, right? All right. And releasing the guilt. It's good. It's good to just take 5 minutes for yourself and do that. And sometimes you need the 5 minutes, not even in the writing process, but let's say you have the writer's block and it's okay to go take a walk by yourself in the woods, maybe to clear your head, or go to the beach, or go for a coffee to clear your head to get rid of the writer's block. Again, doing these things is not selfish as long as it's not hurting another person. It's positive. It's good for you and your writing journey. Okay. And that's what you want them to understand, that that's okay. And they they also have to know when they start all this, it's going to be a time commitment. It's going to be attention needed for this process, and they are going to have to allow themselves that from the get-go, because it is going to take that. One thing I did want to address, and it hits to the fear of putting the book out, and that is imposter syndrome. And I did include it in this because writers do come, especially if they're putting out, let's say, a professional book, or they've written for the first time, they're writing, I don't know, mystery or whatever they're writing, and they think like, is this good? Is this as good as somebody else's book? That's why comparisons are no good. Try to keep them away from comparison, to them comparing themselves to another author. It's never productive. It's what their voice is in the world that they have to focus on. It's not good enough often keeps them from actually putting something out into the world, because they just don't feel like they can do it, and they're an imposter. And when things go really well, they feel like it's undeserving. Let's say their book does incredibly well, they feel it's undeserving. These are things they have to work through to understand. And again, you have to go back to um, take a look what you've done. Look at how far you've come. Look at your knowledge that brought you here. Look at how much you research your characters. Like, bear witness to all that they've done to prove to them that this is not about being an imposter. This is about, you did this. And if you go back to the beginning of the journey, and like we've been talking about, breaking down all the things that they've done, showing that. And if it's somebody who's doing, let's say, a professional book or a memoir, you can say to them, well, you have this professional designation, or you went through this. And if it's someone writing a fiction book and they're talking about a character, writing character, who am I to write these people? Well, it comes from a space. This comes from you, and it's your story. So you have also researched character. You thought about it. You put all this time and effort in. And again, witnessing to the journey itself, because you want to do that. You want them to witness it, and they want you to be their witness to their journey. Okay, and then to encourage them. And your job is not to sit there and go, you're so special, you're so great, you're so amazing, you're so special, you're so great, you're so amazing. Your job is to let them see the evidence of what they're capable of, and how they've been doing this all along anyway, to get them to the next step. Procrastination. Oh, that's when people push things off last minute. They're shocked that all of a sudden they wanted to have it out by spring, and all of a sudden they just don't have enough writing time because they pushed it off. You basically have to get to the root of what's the procrastination. Why? Why are you procrastinating? Is it life gets in the way? Do you need to work on time management? Is it that you're scared of putting it out there? Is that's why you're procrastinating on it? What is it that's causing it? And you can't just say to someone, stop procrastinating. That it doesn't go anywhere. So you have to kind of understand what is underneath the procrastination. So what are you avoiding? If you're avoiding writing, why? Why are you avoiding it? Is it that you don't think it's good, or you're dealing with imposter, or you're dealing with family, you're dealing with this? What is it you're dealing with? Burnout. Figure that out, and then you can figure out and then again, breaking it down into little steps, getting them to see how much they've already done, and working through that to get them to the other side. Okay, because and then you can also work on what is a good way, like what kind of way can we create accountability? How do we work maybe on a schedule for you that works really well for you? And that's where a lot of discussion comes in. What if you set up a schedule where each Monday At 4 o'clock, we meet to see where you've gotten. You do things like that where they have a little bit more framework around it, and it can help break through the procrastination. And sometimes it's just talking it out. And if it's fear-based, or they don't think their stuff is good, or they have a writer's block, talking about it is going to get them to the other side as well. And that's again your job as a sounding board to sort of break through what is this, why aren't you writing? What is holding you back? And then work within that. Okay, this is a big one. And it's a really hard one because you're dealing with the ego, and it's preparing for rejection and criticism. Well, unfortunately, first of all, in this really social media world, a lot of the criticism is written online, is given to you. They post a comment about your book. They do this. So it's very out there. So it's a big one, which is what we talked about, the fear, the fear areas. So it all sort of comes together with all these things. And again, I'm doing this as a layering, so you see all the things. It could be, multiple things at once that's causing the issue, or one thing that's causing the issue. But rejection and criticism really hit hard because this is your creative soul that you're putting out there, and then you're getting feedback from people, and you have to understand that feedback. And that's the biggest thing, because when they come to you and they say, somebody said this and this to me. And now I had an experience years ago where I was advising someone on their magazine. They were doing a professional magazine, and it was to go to professionals. And when she showed me the magazine to review it, I just went, oh no, oh no, 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 no. She worked really hard on it, and don't get me wrong, she worked very hard on it, but she crossed a consumer magazine with a professional magazine, which you cannot do. They're two totally different arenas. So when you are the professional magazine, you have to be top of everything. You have to be on the money with everything. You have to know what's going on in the industry. You have to do all this stuff. And because she had mixed them together, she ended up having personal stories mixed in with stuff, and there wasn't the professional bend to it. And I was very gently trying to tell her that make this a consumer mag, like don't do it as a professional magazine, industry magazine. And she got very upset with me. She did not, and I was as gentle as I could be, because I know, having dealt with writers, authors, for many, many years, that it is coming out of your soul. So you take it personally, right? When somebody says something to you. So I was very gently trying to say, this isn't going to work because you're crossing over different things, and it's not coming together, and it's not going the way. Long story short, she put it out there, and she got slammed by the industry, like just slammed. And she gave it up. She stopped writing. So you have to learn how to take criticism and to understand where it's coming from. And you have to understand, you have to know that there's different types of criticism. Okay. So you have to guide your person through that, because there is going to be a period when they release the book, or prior to releasing the book, and they give it to someone to read. They have to understand where that criticism is coming. But the number one thing is they got to understand that it's not personal, unless the person judging it is nasty and just wanting to hurt. It's not personal. They're judging the book, not them personally. They're judging the book, and they're trying to give criticism. But there's a difference between constructive criticism. There's a difference between meanness, like just being mean. And then there's a difference between unhelpful, right? And subjective, someone's personal taste. Okay, so in other words, you wrote a romance novel. People hate romance novels. So they're just, no matter what you write, they're not going to like it because they think it's boring and stupid. That has nothing to do with you personally. It has nothing to do with your writing. And it certainly doesn't mean that any of your writing is bad. What it does do is it makes you feel like, oh my God, but you have to see where it's coming from. And that's the other part of criticism. You have to, well, number one, you have to normalize rejection, especially when you do something like this. Ask a salesperson how many times they get told no on a sales pitch. Ask an actor how many jobs they didn't get, and how many auditions they went on and didn't get. You have to normalize it, and you have to neutralize it, because you're going to get rejection. You might want to put your book into an agent, and they don't take you. You may want to you ask a local bookstore to take it, and they might not take you. You send it out for like the reading, these things where they read and give you feedback, and they may give you terrible feedback. You're going to have to normalize it, take the best from it, take a minute before you take it personally. Walk away, tell your client to take a breath, walk away, and Then come back to it. Is there anything about what was said to you that was worth listening to? Anything? Was it constructive criticism? Maybe the flow wasn't there. Maybe they didn't understand what you're trying to get at and you need to be more clear. Um, was it constructive criticism? Characters weren't fleshed out right. There wasn't enough info on a certain, I don't know, look or chapter regarding this journey, or it wasn't plausible, it wasn't believable. These are things you need to listen to. So once you've sort of taken the sting, they said something terrible, you have to kind of sit down and go, wait a minute. Is there anything? And that's what you want to do with your client. You want to say, is there anything from this to take? And if there's nothing to take from it positive, then let it go. I know it's easier said than done, and you're going to be working with your client who might be very upset by a comment, but you have to tell them to take a breath and to think, is this coming from a good place? Is this worth something for me to listen to? Like, should I be listening to this? Or should I just let this person go and move on to the next person? You're not going to please everybody. No matter how hard you try, you are simply not going to please. You're not everyone's going to be a reader. And now and the one thing I always tell coaches too is never say everybody's going to love your book. It's not possible. So don't say that. Don't say, oh, this is amazing. Everyone's going to love your book. What you want to say is the right readers are going to come and read your book. And this is what's positive about your book. And if somebody has a criticism, understand where that criticism come from and learn to neutralize and normalize it, not internalize it. Is there something you can take? Can your client take something from that criticism that can help them with their author journey? And that's all they take from it. And the rest, just let it go. That's what it is. Essentially, you're going to have to put the blinder on and really think, where is this coming from? Is it constructive? Is it selective? Or is it just unhelpful? Is it somebody's just being nasty just because? Those are the things you have to work with your client and work them through and get them back on the path to writing their book. And this is when they kind of send it out. And here's a problem too. Everyone's got an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion what your cover should look like. Everybody's got an opinion what your interior should look like. Everyone's got an opinion on when you should release it, how much it should be for, whether it should be an ebook, an audiobook, or a print book. Everybody's got an opinion for you. You got to pick the opinions that work for you. And that is what you want to say to your client. What works for you? What is good for you? Everyone's going to give you every opinion under the sun. We've worked with authors where they were so excited about their cover, they were so excited to put it out there, and got feedback that their cover was too dark, too light, too this, too that. And they come back devastated, going, well, I have to redo the whole thing. And it's like, well, why? You loved it. And that's just one person's opinion. And you get so wrapped up in that one person thinking that's going to cause the yes or no of a sale of your book in the future. And you have to recognize, where's that criticism coming from? And just because one person didn't like something doesn't mean there's something wrong. So you have to really work through criticism. It's one of the hardest things to do because you are dealing with, like, you're putting your vulnerability out there, you're putting your stuff out there, and it hurts when someone rejects it. But you understand, if you take a minute, take a breath, and say to yourself, where is it coming from? Is it valuable for me to delve deeper in it? Maybe they've got something. Maybe I need to look at this. Or is it something where it's like, it's personal opinion. I like it, and you stand your ground. Otherwise, you're going to be changing your book a million times over. And that is really important to know. You want your client to know they cannot just keep doing it. Oh, they'll never get it done. Again, you're back to the podcast. You're back to the fear. You're back to all those things. The book just doesn't get done. Okay. Decide when feedback matters and when it doesn't. Okay. I could wrap up that section with that, right? You're not coaching them to avoid rejection. You can't. Okay. They're going to go through it. They're going to have people make criticisms. They're going to have people be positive. They're going to have all of that coming at them. So you cannot stop it. You can only help them get through it and recognize what it is: constructive, non-constructive. When does it help? When does it just doesn't matter? Okay, so accountability. There's actually a lot of coaching. I can see a lot of wellness coaching focusing on this and the need being ridiculously strong. because accountability keeps them on track. It keeps them focused. So if you do a session, a coaching session, depending on how long they are wanting the session, how long you do the sessions for, and they again we talked about this a little bit earlier about like a specific time every Monday at 4 o'clock. We're going to come together and we're going to see where you are. Where do you stand? How many pages have you gotten written? Why did you fall behind? If they did fall behind, sort of address that, see if they can catch it up, or they're just going to continue on. Again, no criticism. Life gets in the way, it gets hard. Stick to the positive. What can we do to get you back on track? But accountability is very important because you have really good intentions, but they want to see it move forward because then you're getting into the motivation, you're getting into all that. Because once you procrastinate too much or you don't have the accountability and it gets out of hand, you start to lose it, right? So what you can do is set up like a sessions with them to have this accountability. And you may have like a group coaching that has a whole bunch of writers checking in weekly. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But that can be a really great way for you to do your coaching, even as a group coaching, where it's an accountability system. Find out what the problem is, get them back on track. Okay. You want accountability to create momentum, not shame. I've been saying this a few times now. Positive reinforcement, guiding them back to, okay, well, why? Why are you not here? And what could it be? And can we talk about it? Let's get you back on track. Next week, let's come and get you back on track. Right? So you're helping them to keep the commitment to themselves. You're reminding them of their why, and you're reminding them that their book can be a priority. That's just, again, the positive selfishness, okay? And it does have a place on the priority list, and it can have a place on the priority list, okay? We kind of went through this, but if this, I did this as a separate section again, just to really reiterate, balancing writing with everyday responsibilities. Um, Everybody has stuff, jobs, business, children. But you gotta sort of maybe sit down and say, let's really work on your time management. But you have to start with reality. Okay. You cannot put your time, what you think their timing should be. You can't. Okay. Every author is completely different. Every author is coming with different goals to you, different ideas, different types of books. They're all coming with different things to you. So you are going to have to work with what their timeline is, not what your timeline is. Okay. So you're going to have to sit down, talk with them. What is realistic in your lifestyle? What is a realistic way of keeping this going forward? Okay. Okay. Creating realistic writing goals. Okay. These all sort of fit into each other, right? Okay. Again, you have to take to what is their lifestyle? What are their other commitments? You want to make sure they don't have the guilt, the shame of taking away from family, from that. So you want to write realistic, and you have to really keep this with somebody because them coming to you and going, well, I'm going to write 50,000 words this week might not be feasible. And then they get into the failure feeling like, oh my God, I failed. I didn't do it. And then they get into procrastination. And do you see how it spirals down? So you want to write what is a realistic writing goal? Okay. What is realistic? What can you do? So life happens, life gets in the way, so prepare for that. Know that life is going to get in the way. And maybe you didn't get your 500 words written. Maybe the next week you can do 1,000 words and catch it up. Be realistic, be honest with yourself. Don't punish yourself if life gets in the way. Just understand, readjust, get back on track, right? Get back on your journey. Okay. When they can't maintain a pace they set for themselves, so they make it way too hard, they're going to drop it. In comes procrastination, then comes fear, shame, guilt, all these things start to spiral, anxiety. All the stuff we talked about is all going to cause the spiral down. So you want to keep them on track and say, what would be a good amount for you? What do you feel comfortable? And if in the beginning it's a low amount of time, that's okay too, because as the book builds, as the momentum builds, as their excitement, as they're almost done, they'll add their time in, but it'll come from a good place, a positive place, not one of guilt, shame, stress. It just comes from a really positive place. Okay. The books are rarely built out of these bursts, one weekend, all written. They can take their time.
So allow for that time. Now, if somebody does do a big burst and they finish their book, well, that's their time, right? That's their time. But if it takes somebody else a bit longer or they need more structure around it, that's what you're for, is to guide them through that and keep them on track. The emotional side of publishing. Anyone who's ever published a book knows this. You spent all this time writing your manuscript. You have done all this design, the covering, the editing this. But in the end, there is a human being experiencing a ton of emotions at this point: excitement, fear, imposter syndrome, the anxiety is the book going to sell. They can feel pride, vulnerability, impatience, disappointment, self doubt, overwhelm, grief throughout the publishing journey. They can also be at a place when the publishing journey is done, they're a bit lost because they've been so focused on it for so long. Now what? Like it's gone, it's been taken away. So they could have this sort of anticlimactic feeling about it where they're like, oh. That's why a lot of people don't stop writing their book. They go back again and again and again and rewrites, which we discussed earlier, right? So yeah, again, you break through all these reasons, but they're human and they're going to have these feelings. And going through that is extremely important, which is why when you set up your coaching practice, you can actually have different areas, timelines. So let's say somebody is at the beginning of their book. Maybe they have self-doubt, maybe they're not sure what to do, maybe they need timeline issues, accountability. Then you could have somebody that's already at this stage of their book, the manuscript's done, they've done everything right, now it's out in the world. And what are they dealing with at that point? The you have to recognize that the publishing journey for them is really personal. The journey is personal. Their emotions are personal. All of that, what they're feeling is personal to them. And you're dealing with that and you're working them through it. Allow them to talk, allow them to put their feels out there and tell them that it's okay to feel like that, but let's work through those. Okay. Expect emotional highs and lows. Yeah, that's really good. Help them separate emotion from decision making because they are going to have a lot of decisions at that point. Do they go on Amazon? Do they self-publish? Do they hire people? Do they work, do they do it themselves? Do they what is it that they're doing? So take emotion away from it and again, center, put your steps, calm yourself down, really think through what you're doing. Prepare them for the vulnerability that's going to be seen. They're putting themselves out there. There is a vulnerability to that, and that is okay. There's nothing wrong with putting it out there. It's not going to get out there if you don't put it out there. That's something everybody has to deal with, right? Especially when they put their first books out there, it's out there. Someone's going to see it. Someone's going to love it. Someone's going to not like it. Someone's going to ignore it. It is what it is, right? But you have to understand that those things do happen, and you can work through those feelings. Okay, and then help them manage expectations. Oh, this is a big one. This is huge. Managing expectations can be a coaching session in and of itself. Okay, that can be 6 sessions right there. Is managing expectations. There is this concept, this idea that the book will immediately lead to mass sales, media attention, speaking opportunities, success. Essentially, you build it and they shall come. But there's a lot of steps in that. There's a lot of planning and marketing and getting yourself out there. And it takes time for people to recognize who you are, get to know the author, get to know what your book is about for them to pull the trigger and purchase a book. So yes, in the beginning, you can set it up that you have sort of everybody that you know, and you can do that. You have everyone buying at the same time. You can get the best seller status on Amazon, let's say, for a certain amount of books. But you have to have realistic expectations for a book. And when it's out there, and especially you're on Amazon and there are 50 million titles on Amazon, you're gonna have to do something to get that book seen. So it doesn't end with you just uploading it. So and working with an author with this and getting them managing that expectation that as long as it's up there, people are going to just automatically buy. Well, no, they're going to buy once they know you as an author. You're on podcasts, you're out doing things, you talk about your book all the time. You maybe talk about the chapters, maybe you're talking about the characters, maybe you're talking about what the book does for you. But you have to talk about your book to get people to know about it. So manage the expectation when it first comes out, getting it out there. But it could also be that they had a big amount of sales and then the interest started to die down. What do I do? Well, again, you're going to have to get yourself on track. Maybe make a plan to speak on social media, speak here, get some speaking gigs. But you want to, the expectation is unrealistic. then they're going to feel like a failure. Because I've had people come and say that, and I've had colleagues who do fiction book publishing, and they've said to me, they'll have somebody come up to them and go, "This is going to sell 1 million copies right off the gate." And they just sit there and they go, "Okay, first of all, you're an unknown author. So you're setting yourself for a huge um, letdown. If it doesn't sell 1 million copies right off the gate, then you feel like it's a big failure. You blame everything up and down. But a lot of the books that sell in these kind of numbers, these authors, they become established authors. Their names are known. They've already built a fan base, which we talk about to encourage them to build their own website, build their stuff, do social media, do these things, encourage them to do this so that they have already got a base that they're selling to. But you have to manage the expectation. And again, this could be a whole section on coaching alone, and it's tough, and you can't tell, and you do not say as a coach that they're going to sell all this and that, because they will blame you if it doesn't sell like that. Manage expectations. Be excited for every win. Every book sale is a win. Be excited for every single one. Okay, so you want to make sure, and then you have to help them through the post publishing dip. Doing all this thing is a huge goal to meet. And at the end of it, when it's finally out and you're putting yourself out there, it's like, and then, okay, so you're dealing with that coming down from this long period of intense focus, that now they're like, well, what do I do now? Now the book's out there, I'm done. So work with them through that. What are their next steps? What are their next goals? And it could be that there's another book, sequel or whatever. Take a break, take a little bit of time for yourself, regroup, start on the next one. Talk through it with them, allow them to have that experience. If they are having trouble after it's come out, tell them that that experience is okay. That's perfectly okay and natural for you to feel like that. All right, we're going to go into a little bit about what your sessions look. I kind of described it a little bit here and there. And again, the textbook has this in a lot more detail, so I don't want to bombard you with so much information. I mean, I'm coming up with a lot, and I'm hoping to keep it as sequence as possible. But there is a lot more information in the book. So I'm going to just cover this real quickly. A lot of you do coaching, so you already have sort of a format of how you like to coach. Okay, and you start a discovery call. Again, if you are a coach, you know what a discovery call is. If you're not a coach, you want to become a coach, a discovery call is where you actually set up time to talk with the author to find out what they want. I said this earlier. You don't know what part of the journey your author is on at this point. Are they at the very beginning? Are they in the middle? Are they at the end? Do they need only one thing? Do they need everything? What is it that they need? Or do they just need help with accountability? Or do they need help through the creative process? Are they feeling doubt? Are they going through any kind of emotional side? What is it that the author needs? So that's what a discovery call is for. And we actually, inside the book, we put like questions for you to ask, where are they on their book journey? Do they have an idea, outline, everything done already? Or what are they hoping to accomplish? What are they looking for in a coach? Now, these are questions you ask, and we have them all in the book, so you have it there. The conversation is important because you don't assume that every author wants the same thing. Okay, because every author is coming to you. Maybe they're looking for accountability, but their definition of accountability is different than somebody else's author. So get that known. Um, what you want are you going to be doing weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Like, how are you going to set it up? And again, that's between you and how you want to do your coaching practice. And it's between you and them. If it is accountability, it'll probably have to be on a weekly or bi-weekly, so you keep them on track. Monthly, it gets long if they really fall behind. Could be a problem. But if it's checking in on the emotional side, the confidence side, it could go once a month and you see where their progress is and how they're doing. So you have to, again, you're talking with your author and you're trying to sort of find out what are their needs. Okay, and then again, like I just said that, what are they looking for? Maintaining momentum, confidence, writer's block. You find that out. And then you can do like a 6-week session. And rather than charge hourly, charge by the session. And then you get to the 6 weeks and you can review at that point, what do they need from here? Okay, they could be at a different stage at that point and they need something else. They still need the accountability because they've still got a ways to go with their book. So that is what you're trying to assess. And doing it at the 6 weeks also helps to see if it's working, the coaching is working, it's working for the two of you. If you're meshing good, if it's not working, you get a chance to reassess before you go much longer, right? You're doing it towards their timeline, not yours. Again, that's why you do the discovery call. Make sure that you're working with what they need. Okay, and it's their journey, it's their author journey, so you have to be understanding of that. That's what makes it a little bit different, is because you're working on, they're working on they're not just working on themselves as a project, they're actually doing a project, a physical thing. So you have to work along their timeline on, again, going back to what is their timeline, how are they structuring their writing, what are their goals for their writing. Okay, I said this a little bit, but I'll say it here. And we go into detail in the book about this, so it gives you a lot more information. But there are ways you can coach that don't just mean one-on-one, and that is group coaching. Like accountability works amazing with that. Workshops work really well, especially if you want to do workshops along the lines of confidence boosting, momentum, keeping your mental health in check during, your writing process. Those are great for workshop ideas. Retreats are very big, as we're very much in a world that is seeking and looking for detox, digital detox. So retreats are really good. You could partner with somebody who's doing a retreat and be a speaker at it, which gets me to speaking gigs. So you can do that. And maybe there's somebody doing a writer's retreat, you can become a speaker at it. So she, again, very few people are addressing the emotional side of writing. So you're coming in as something very unique, to the table. You're not saying the same thing, like you're not doing character development. You're doing, how does a person feel when they're writing that character? What are the emotions they're dealing with? That's what so it's a completely different angle that you're coming at. So speaking gigs is really good. Again, workshops, master classes, these all sort of go into the same space. They're all can be done, and you can then, do group things. You don't necessarily always have to take on one-on-one clients. And a lot of people prefer to do speaking gigs, prefer to do group coaching, prefer to do that. It's completely up to you how you want to do your practice. Okay. So, it's in principles apply, be clear of what the program is, set expectations, stay with your training, within your training and scope, and don't promise outcomes you can't guarantee. Okay, that's a big one. Don't tell someone it's going to be a bestseller when you don't know that. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in that trap where you're now responsible for that. Encourage, be positive, let them tell their feelings, let them tell how they're going to feel about it, but don't offer guarantees that you cannot meet. Okay, so you want to make sure of that. This is the one where I was talking about before, where I say I always look for areas that you can expand, either your opportunities, you can expand your collaborations, you can expand, in alternative revenue streams. And this is one I wanted to make sure was in the book because it's really good. Because you are an author wellness and book coach, because you're dealing with the emotional side of book writing, the human side of book writing. You do not have to know how to lay out a book in graphics. You do not need to know how the printer prints the book. You don't need to know how a PR person gets them speaking gigs. You don't have to do any of that. That's not your scope is to tell them that's available to them. But you do not have to be the one doing that, because again, there are professionals out there that focus on that and do that. But you need to do, though, and what can be very beneficial for you is to create your own collaboration partnerships. Okay, so these are professional partnerships with people who do this. So you can say to your person, well, if you're ready to get your book printed, or if you're ready, and if you need someone to help you with the self-publishing end or doing the production end, then I do have somebody that I work with or I refer. Now you can do referrals to each other. They can refer, you can refer, or you can, because you do group coaching, coaching, speaking, those kind of elements, so you're frontline author, you can set up, a commission that you get for each referral that you give. So they can give you a commission on whatever it is. It could be a percentage, a flat fee, affiliate fee, or you can do a directory of your own on your website that is, for authors, and you can charge a professionals who do author related stuff to be on there, and that'd be a flat yearly fee of whatever, $100, whatever your fee is. You can do something like that and create your own little resource guide. We have that on our authors gathering, and it's very valuable. So you could do something like that where you have maybe 5 or 10 trusted people that you work with, and again, you're either trading referrals or they give you a fee if you refer your author to them. And be sure you work with people that you trust and that will do it, because you don't want your reputation ruined. But it is a fantastic way of adding an additional revenue stream you never thought of, but would be a really good way. And it also takes the pressure off you as the coach, as this author wellness coach, to not spend time trying to learn stuff that isn't within your scope. You do not have to know the technical aspect of how to lay out a book. You can want to know it, but you don't have to within the scope of what this is. Again, we are going to send everybody a bonus book that talks about Amazon, ISBNs, for your own personal knowledge, just so you know it, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. Okay, you can stay within the scope of the wellness and the book as it pertains to the author's journey. Okay, so that is an incredible way you can connect with the graphic designers, publishers, agents, PR experts. Become the connector, right? Okay, start building your professional network now. As you're thinking about starting your practice and adding in the author wellness, start building. Do you know somebody who does produce books? Okay. Do you know somebody who can connect you to a printer? Do you know somebody who can do PR? Do you know somewhere you can do that? So you already sort of have a little bit of a group together that you can refer. And that you, if somebody says to you, I need a graphic designer, you can say, well, you know what? I work with Susie. She's really good. I'm going to give her your name. You guys go and talk. Now, encourage them to do their due diligence and encourage them to negotiate the deals and to do all that and make sure they're getting that person is the right person. But having that referral, and then again, if you, let's say you get a flat fee or you get a percentage of whatever it comes to, it's an additional way of getting that revenue. Okay. Developing book idea structures and writing plans. I did put this in here just again for you to know. If you want to go in that direction, you can, but again, it's based on the author's journey. So you don't have to do layouts and editing, and especially deep dive editing and constructive editing. That is a real specialties, and that's really heavy, right? So you have to decide if you want to go in that. That's a whole other animal. Okay. And believe it or not, we are writing a book on that. I'm doing a course on that with the editing, especially with like AI editing and stuff. And some of you have taken our AI to human voice class to understanding that. So there is that, but this in this scope, we want to stick to the journey, right? But they are going to maybe ask ideas. So what you want to do is somebody comes to you, I've got a book in me, I don't know where to start. Again, this is if you're going to have packages that relate to the beginning, to the middle, to the end, accountability, like all the different packages you want, however you want to structure them. What you can do is help them find, what their core idea is. You're basically a sounding board, brainstorm sessions. You want to help them structure it. What is it? Because a lot of times people don't know, i.e., is it a memoir? Is it a self-help book? Are they doing, a type of novel, kind of novel? You can help them sort of clear that. You can help create a roadmap, but it's not a prison. Again, you're working through it with them. They might change. It might change. Life gets in the way. You have to be very open and let them know that that's okay. And then you want to help them get out of their head. Like that's something too. You get wound. You get in that spiral. You start to freak out. You start to do all that, and maybe that's what you're working and setting out a roadmap because you want them to sort of put their ideas down, filter ideas, and calm themselves. And they don't have to come. And I said this before, no author has to have it right on the first time. People redo, they go in again. They have done rewrites of books that have been written, a long time ago. They'll update it and they'll rewrite. So there's nothing wrong with that. And especially if they're like a wellness writer or anything like that, new information comes all the time. So we have to update the new info, what's coming. If something new is coming on the industry in the publishing realm, you want to be updated. The books will be updated, right? So you have to be aware that their book, it's okay to just start, right? Just start. And then it's okay to keep refining and develop that book. You don't write the book for them, you're guiding them through the journey. Manuscript development and publishing pathways. Again, you just want to know this. We put it in the book just so you know. You're not the publisher. Okay. You are guiding their journey. So, but you should know because if they ask you a question, you have them informed, okay? Your role is to understand where they are, what comes next, the choices they have, right? So you want to understand the different stages. There's draft, development, editing, copy reading, proofreading. This is where you're dealing with the anxiety because it's like, oh my God, I got to do all this stuff. Well, you want to break it down, but you have to understand what those steps are, right? In the production of a book. You have to understand it, but you don't have to do the production of it, right? helping them choose a publishing pathway. Now, do not tell them what to do. They have to come to the conclusion themselves. You put the ideas there and they come to the conclusion. You lead them to the water. So there's traditional publishing. I go through an agent or submit to a publishing house that accepts manuscripts. There's self-publishing. Okay. And then there's hybrid publishing, which is working with somebody who maybe, in fact, a lot of the big guns do this now too, the hybrid, which is they will produce the book, but you have to market the book. So some money has to be put on the table on your end. So to understand what that means. Okay. Don't push one model or another. Okay. You're there to guide and give advice, but do not push. They decide they want to go through a traditional publisher. They decide to go self-publishing. Just give them the information, let them know, and then they make the decision. And if whatever information you don't have, then you can guide them to let's say you are connected to a self-publishing professional or a hybrid publishing house. You can guide them that way and say, why don't you talk to Mary from XYZ? She can answer your questions better than I can. And then it'll help you to make an informed decision after you've talked to them. We'll come together again, we'll talk. And again, you let them talk. Okay. You don't have to produce the book. You're just helping them understand the journey. I keep saying this because I don't want you to feel overwhelmed as a coach. Okay. Your coaching does not, you don't do the technical, you're doing the emotion, the human side of it, right? Okay, author branding, book launches, marketing fundamentals can a lot of anxiety. So you're dealing through them. Anxiety, again, you can at this point tandem with a marketing professional and bringing on people onto your thing. And you can have more than one because one will work with this type of book, one will work with another. So you can have more people on your referral list that you want to work with. But at some point, the author has to say, how do I get this book in front of the right people? So they have to make the decisions of where the book's going to be seen. You don't need to be a marketing agent, graphic design. I keep stressing this. Again, you just have to connect them if they want some sort of a connection, but you want them to understand the fundamentals. Understand that, yes, there's going to be a little bit of anxiety, maybe, or maybe you're stressed out. And how do you make the decisions? Well, how you make the decision is to speak to somebody, let them give you feedback. We'll come back together and brainstorm a little. Okay. The author most often is the brand. With an author, it's not necessarily geared around a book, but around the author themselves. So they can have an author website. They're promoting themselves on podcasts, or people have to often fall in love with the author, or they fall in love with the book after that. So the author is the brand. So there's dealing with all the stuff that we talked about before in dealing with them, putting themselves out there, the vulnerability, help them, be confident in their book and what they're saying and know their stuff, right? Okay. And a lot of authors could write multiple books in their lifetime. So that's why they're the brand, not specifically the book itself. Okay. Teach them to think beyond social media, please. Social media is, unless you put a lot of money into advertising, it's becoming more and more challenging to get organic reach. They'll feel very depressed if they do not get the reach that they're hoping for on social media. Again, leads into those other areas of anxiety and why is it happening and fear of failure. Because the reality is social media is very different now. We've had a ton of drop-ins about social media over the years and how much it's changed. The one thing I can say is organic reach is very, very low right now. So you're going to have to do something else. Videos, talking, be on podcasts, try to get speaking spots. Doing these things will help you get your message out there to more people. Okay, so you could get them, start encouraging them to get a newsletter together, build their own little audience, book clubs, see if they can become part of conferences, media appearances. Can they get on to other podcasts, can they get on TV? Can they do that? The community organizations, corporate opportunities, libraries, there's all these ways they can get their message out there and get people to know that their book exists. Okay. And then again, for you, know when to refer. Okay. Know when to say that you can help the author get to the next person, okay, a PR person or a marketing person if they need that help. Okay. Um, author branding and marketing can also become part of the author's larger career strategy. Okay, there's more than just being an author. It can be wrapped around an entire career strategy. It can lead to speaking, workshops, consulting, coaching, media appearances, courses, corporate opportunities, additional books, and professional partnerships. Okay, you want to let them know that the journey doesn't necessarily stop after the book is done. They can do things with it, and they've got other options. Again, know what you want to say, refer them to people who can take them to the next step, or encourage them to find, are there conferences out there they can put themselves forward to, right? Okay, establishing your own coaching practice. Like, how do you get this out there? Finding clients, your packaging, pricing, building referrals. You want to say first, who do you want to? We kind of went through this a little bit. We just wanted to really focus on it, so you get it. Is it first time authors you're working with? Are you working only with wellness professionals, memoir writers? Are you specific to what you want to do? Create packages. I said this earlier, rather than simply selling hours. If you can do like an author's kickstart 3 sessions package. Again, you can do even more detailed ones. We have a whole bunch of ideas in the book that you can refer to. Finding your first clients will get out there. Make sure people know. Go to author events. Like, we have our big authors gathering coming up on the 17th, and we have a ton of people coming. So get your book known, get it out there, and you also connect. That's where your book. You encourage your authors to go and get their book known, but it gets your career out there. You're telling them that you do this as a coach. And like for example, with the authors gathering, we have like 80 authors coming. So it's a great place to say, well, I coach in, or I have coaching sessions in. So it's a great place to connect with people. So get out there. Any referral things that you can set up, speaking. Again, you could go speak at libraries because they often have author days and things like that. You put yourself forward as an author. You're not just selling the sessions, you're creating a professional service that helps move from where they are to where they want to be. So you want to really push that message that you're helping the human side of the author journey. Okay, ethical boundaries, client agreements. We encourage you to put an agreement together. Be very, very clear, your website, in a contract, what they're getting, what the timeline is. So there's no creep on it. Make sure you put that in. And again, those who are already coaching understand what I'm saying. In the book, we have a lot more information on this. I'm going to let you go through that and see what there is. You want to put what your coaching includes, what it doesn't include, length, frequency, communication sessions. And you also want to make sure that you're not available 24/7, right? Because we're in a world now where you have your phone's on you and your email's on you. You want to set some boundaries around that. That would just make it easier for you when you're coaching. Okay. Yeah, the coaching agreement we just talked about. Coaching's not therapy. This again, because you're a wellness coach already, for those who are, be careful not to go outside of the scope of what this is. Again, this is their author journey around their book. If somebody comes to you and they have other issues and you wish to help them with those other issues, you can in tandem set up another coaching thing that will focus solely on those issues. But as far as the book's concerned, if they come to you and they say, I'm having marital problems, you have to ask, well, how is that affecting your book journey? Do you need a break? What can we do to get you refocused on the book? Does the book help you maybe take your mind off it? You have to bring it back to the book, back to the book. And if you are a wellness professional and you want to do a tandem coaching, that's up to you. You decide that, you know what you're doing there. Okay. The client's story is theirs and theirs alone. Treat that information with respect. Treat their book with respect. Treat with what they say with respect. Okay. They are sharing things with you. You could be the very first person they're sharing it with. Really honor that. Okay. We just talked about that, maintaining professional boundaries. Also, be careful of what you put out. Don't put anything out without their permission. Again, you could be the first person seeing their book. You want permission if you do want to say you're working with somebody that just seek their permission. A lot of that speaks to the vulnerability. It speaks to all of that. And you want to make sure that you're not crossing any boundaries there, right? So you want to keep your boundaries professional and don't think there's anything wrong with you saying that is outside of my scope. If they're coming to you with issues that you cannot work with, or it's out of your scope and you can't do it, or you don't want to do it, then it is okay. In fact, it's professional for you to say that's outside of my scope. If it's something to do with the publishing industry itself, say I have a network of people that I can connect you with, and they can answer that question, and we can come back together and we can brainstorm what's been said. So if you do things like that, it keeps your coaching top notch, and it doesn't lead you into areas you don't want to be. The new frontier. It's literally a new frontier. The author wellness specifically focusing on this creative area and focusing on the author journey is new. So welcome to it. Embrace it. I'm sure it's going to be getting bigger and bigger. It's going to get more popular, especially once people really understand how incredibly helpful it is, because an author puts their heart and soul in it, right? Whether it's a business book, whether it's a romance novel, whether it's, whatever it is that they're putting out, their memoir, their heart and soul is there, the vulnerability is there, their hopes, their fears are all wrapped up in this, 6 by 9 book that comes out at the end. So you have to, you honor that journey. And if you're there to help them guide the journey, you're on this new frontier. And we're really excited about it because we put together our two areas, which was the wellness. We've been working with wellness professionals now for many, many years. And it worked right into us working with authors. And we thought, you know what? Man, do they need to come together. And then it's a new area for wellness professionals to have, because people, I told you, 5 to 10 million people at any given time are writing a book. And it's even more than that of the amount of people who are thinking about writing a book. And then you have the people who are in the midst, like they are coming to the end of writing a book and they're ready to publish. Then you have those who have already put books out there. So you're talking millions of people. So the opportunity there is really, really high. And because of what you're doing as a new frontier, you're can be in a lot of demand if you put yourself out there as a wellness. You're helping them with the wellness journey, the human side of writing a book. There's a lot out there on the tech side. That's why you don't need to worry about that side. Bring on the professionals to take care of the tech side. You deal with their heart, their soul, their pride, their anxiety, their issue, they're just everything that wraps around to how can I get my book? How can I make this dream a reality? Okay, that's what you're dealing with. Okay, along with this textbook, I said it a couple of times already. We're going to send a mini book. That will either come today, or I think they're still working on it, because I just thought that how important that is. So it might come in the next few days. But you get a little mini book, and in that book is going to have a little bit more of the tech side, just so you know it, not so you do it, so you know. And yeah, so you have this. You can, by all means, break this up. I know it's been an hour and a half. It's a lot of information, and believe me, this is a fraction of what is actually in the book. So take your time, read the book. You can always reach me by email asking me questions. I'm more than happy to answer. And yeah, so anytime, reach out. Good luck to you. It is a very exciting, very much a new frontier. We are going to be doing more sort of mini updates with the people who are taking the course, so that we update you on anything new, get your feedback on, and how was your first client, that and that. If you have any questions, always reach out. All right. Thank you very much. Again, everything will be sent to you. Good luck, and take care.